Hi, I'm Gabriel. I am a games art student, and this is my personal presentation for Hacklab and Creative Play. So, about me, as I said, I'm Gabriel, I do games art, and in this specific module, my primary task is creating environments, in this case 2 environments, along with assisting in visual art direction and coordinating with another games art teammate named James, and basically give support to the entire team. So, about the game itself, our game of inspiration is Activision Decathlon. It is a game that originally released on the Atari 2600 and then being ported later onto platforms, as you can see there. It is designed and written and coded by a guy named David Crane, and the main goal of the original game is a group of 4 people or a solo player can compete and undertake simulations of real-world decathlon events, 10 sports in total, which can be done individually or in a sequence, and it was published and released by Activision themselves in 1983. As I said earlier, the game can be played between 1 to 4 players, has 10 sports. Sports included 100-meter dash, long jump, shot put, high jump, 400-meter race, 110-meter hurdles, disc throw, pole vault, javelin throw, 1,500-meter race, and at the end of it all, the main goal is to get the most points as you can to win a gold medal. My contribution to this, as previously stated, I'm doing a games art course, and I'm mainly tasked to create a suitable environment for my game. Me and my team firstly analyzed the brief, and we discussed how our approach of the game, how appropriate it should have been, and we decided and all agreed that we should be faithful to the visuals and give it a retro pixel art style, as well as continue making it a 2D side-scrolling game. As a team, we've had a few meetings, mainly on Mondays and Fridays, discussing clearly what tasks we should be doing and how far along on those tasks, on our progress on those tasks, and giving any progress updates and support if needed, and opinions and improvements. So concept development, it was straightforward. As a group, we decided to do 5 sports. I think it was swimming, high jump, running, archery, and ice skating. Since I'm not the only games artist here, we decided to split it between us both, and I decided to do swimming and high jump. After that, I decided to go make a mood board for my inspired environments and just start envisioning on what the idea of these levels should be like. The only issue I faced was how I wanted to effectively create these environments, being faithful to the original game itself, brief, and the GDD, as I've never done a group task like this before, as my main specialty is prop making and not environment art. But this is something new, and I appreciate experiencing and doing this for the first time. So as you can see here, here's a bit about the GDD. It's been a great guidance as it clearly outlines what the feel of the environment should be, as long as the visual appearance, and also the contents of the environments, as you can see right here. I decided to do the swimming level first. I decided to do a mood board. I wanted to take inspiration from actual games, art, and real fish tanks, and it kind of helped set the standard for what I wanted when creating the level. High jump mood board, similar thing, although this time I just took inspiration strictly from video games like Mario, Geometry Dash, and Spyro. I mainly took these ones for high jump because I like the design aesthetic and how retro they feel like, so it would make more sense in the game. So pre-production, I relied heavily on the descriptions of GDDs and the visuals of my mood board, as I'm not really confident in my ability to draw, which I have tried to improve over the past few weeks. If I could do this all over again, I would have attempted like a rough sketch, just like on the GDD, and then use that along with a mood board to combine that into a 3D piece. So my execution for this was starting off with 2 planes, one serving as the back, and one serving as with a bunch of subdivisions to create a sand-like texture, because this is the swimming level, and I wanted to implement, like what it says on the GDD, a concrete background and a sandy floor, really. And then the final result is, I put this into Photoshop and changed the filters a bit to make it look pixelated. I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not quite happy with this because I feel like it could be a bit more saturated, a bit more colorful, just like my intended vision. But other than that, it fits in the game, in my opinion. With the other assets, it wasn't just a fish tank, but it was also a shark and a torpedo. And what I simply did was go into Maya, created a planar, and because planars by default have these grids, I decided to remove the faces and kind of carve a shark body, and then its fins, and then its tail, and then go into Substance Painter and colored it appropriately to the GDD. Again, here's the mood board for the shark and the torpedo. Been a great help because it helps me visualize what I want. Same process with the torpedo. Added a planar, cut the sides, inserted it into Substance Painter, and just colored it. Final results, I put them into Blender, made a scene, made it look a bit professional, game ready, to be transported off to the game developers who are working really hard to try and make the game come to life, or at least a workable demo. This is the high jump level. I was told to just create a vertical level and just a bunch of platforms, which is simple enough. And so what I did was go into Maya, again put in a planar and made boxes out of those. Made boxes out of those and then placed them individually on a separate planar to create kind of a vertical level, which I then colored it appropriately in Substance Painter. This is the final result. It looks as pixelated as I can get it to be, and with this, along with every other asset, I sent it off to the game developers. So, self-reflection, I wanted to pixelate it properly, as in I didn't want to scale down the resolution and then scale it back up again so it's pixelated. I wanted to keep some of the details there, but I just put it a pixel filter. Problem solving. So initially when I was creating the shark, my vision was to just create a fully 3D shark and then take a side picture of it and then edit that as Substance Painter and maybe Photoshop to touch it up a bit. But as you can see, it didn't turn out well because I just didn't know how to go about a shark until I realized I was overcomplicating everything, and I just switched to planars and then removed the faces. But yeah, it ended up, as you can see in the final results from previous slides, it turned out well. I just had to think outside the box eventually and just inserted planar and just made a familiar shark shape. What I did like in my work is how I transitioned the 3D elements into 2D elements, as I thought that would have been the biggest hurdle of them all, as I've never really made any 2D assets for any game or any educational project ever. So I really do like how I managed to pull off the transition from 2D to 3D. Especially due to the amount of troubles I had with it, and also my outside issues that were kind of affecting me in that moment. I had low confidence, however, I managed to overcome that low confidence by being able to thinking outside the box and having actual proper time management. What didn't work well was the Photoshop aspect of it. I really wish I was more knowledgeable about that, and so the next time I get into another project where I need to use Photoshop, I will do some research on how to use it properly and then utilize the skills that I've learned from Photoshop and effectively put it into my next asset creation. I am happy to say though that with doing this project, I have been able to grow some soft skills, such as my time management, as you know, having proper time management allowed me to get over a lot of my issues I had with the game. Being able to do that, I had been able to properly manage the module projects, and so therefore caused me less panic and stress. My teamwork and communication skills have evolved, as before this project, I would barely communicate with the rest of my team. I would just be given the work and I would go away and do it. But for this project, my communication skills have evolved as I've been communicating with the team more, giving feedback, checking with the team, and just generally coordinating the work. My emotional intelligence has also greatly benefited by this project, as being able to not panic too much, because with me, panicking influences a lot of my decisions. However, with this project, I've been able to control my emotions a bit more. I have not let any panic influence any of my decisions for this module at least, and I'm also aware of my teammates and their feelings, and how they're doing really. If they have an issue, they obviously come to us with the rest of the team for it, and we kind of give them feedback or support or some effective communication along the lines of that. This definitely improved. However, my insight was my emotions at the start of my project admittedly stunted my confidence on the project, as I've never tried to turn anything 3D into 2D. Usually it's been quite the opposite. I've always had concept art that needed to be turned 3D and that's it. But I did like the challenge of turning 2D pictures into 3D models back into 2D assets that were game ready. And also I just had more pressing work to do, like narrative and storytelling, which admittedly also kind of delayed my start on this project. However, I had a clearer mind after time management and controlling my emotions that I managed to be able to effectively do this project properly in terms of 3D assets into 2D assets. The visuals in the game, I believe, worked quite well, as it's just a reimagining, at least my group's reimagining, of a classic 1983 game. Especially, it's a pixel game, the visuals are simple, so we wanted, the game to be faithful in that aspect by making it bright and pixelated. We wanted to capture a kind of retro feeling with the game to resonate with people who enjoy games, simple games, pixel games like these. The target audience is a persona of someone we created, a guy named Bob. He works a 9-to-5 job in a supermarket, and our game is intended for people like Bob, as our game is quick and simple to understand, to pick up and play. And also we would feel like it would be good for a guy like Bob, because he might get nostalgia playing the game due to the retro classic art style, and hopefully classic visuals, retro visuals would attract more people into playing the game, as it could remind them of their childhood and remember the good memories and vibes when they played those games all those years ago. The environments and bringing them to life was a challenge, as I didn't want to create a boring background. We've all seen a fish tank, we've all seen water levels, we've all seen high jump, we've all seen Mario-like games. So for swimming, for example, I wanted to include assets like a sharpened torpedo to just add a more livelier feeling, so that you aren't just swimming from A to B, and just stuff like that really. In conclusion, I feel like the work, at least on my end, and I can confidently say it on James' end, is pretty successful, as I've created work that satisfies both my teammates and the GPD, and I guess also the brief. Being able to think outside the box really helped me, as I was very stunted with the sharp process. However, being able to think outside the box really allowed me to continue the development process with minimal obstacles after that. Along with that, teamwork has definitely allowed me to create work easier by getting feedback and opinions from teammates. It allowed me to help a more visually desired piece of work, such as sharks, the environment, and all that stuff. Teamworking allayed my stresses with the work, because we all gave feedback to each other, asking if our work is good enough or what could be improved with the work. And all my references. And yeah, that's been me. I've been Gabriel, and thanks for listening to my presentation.